They all say I will become a replica. Your mistakes were only chemical. Just like me, is it in our nature to be stuck on repeat? Another encore to an after show. Do I chase the night or does the night chase me? Mirroring situations like
Just turn the background music off and bring us in. Alright, good morning everyone. Hope we're doing okay. Nice push up yesterday, last night. We were just starting to talk about this 76 here. My IQ was just about to go on a tear there, and I had to cool you off and bring in the sound. So you want to carry on with what you were just about to open up with?
Yeah. So I'm doing what I was saying is, one thing I'm going to do a little bit better of a job at, was just, not engaging in things that I haven't already kind of pre-planned too much in advance. So like I know a lot of times we'll wake up and we'll have new structure and things to play with, and obviously that's fine, and you can engage with it as long as it's still conforming to your overall kind of trade playbook. But the one thing I want to be a little bit wary of is, just if there's no need, there's no need. Like, so for right now, I'm sitting in a runner that's up 70 points. So while I could engage in this 76 trade, for one, I didn't pre-plan it, so I'd have to kind of will start planning it now, and just kind of in an effort to kind of reduce trades. If I can avoid things, I'm gonna try to avoid them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the coming from the perspective of a guy who's in a runner. So for me, I'm not. And I was looking at this morning. Actually, this kind of little consolidation we had overnight, and I was really tempted with like the back test at the top of that, right around 78. I just always like chicken out of those trades, but that was that consolidation where we expanded out of yesterday evening, or rather overnight last night, and then back testing the top of that can often be a good trade. But yeah, not a failed breakdown, just a back test of a breakout, really. But the 76 trade is something we're talking about because Adam's also highlighted that in his morning tweet this morning. So that's kind of what I was looking at here, but a little bit too close to the open, really, for me to be all that excited about getting involved with it. Had it happened a little bit 15 minutes earlier, then maybe, but it's potentially setting up here for anyone who wants to take a stab at that. Just looking at the chat here, there's a question from Bryce. Had a couple of questions for you guys. Any reason why Adam is using NAP a lot for a lot of trades in the fall per his newsletter? He said those were rare, but in tweets says it's now 50% of trades. Yeah, we've definitely been noticing that transition as well. I think a lot of it comes down to the flush depth and the market regime we're in. But yeah, we've been being curious on that one. So, obviously if it's a very shallow flush, then defer to that. By shallow, I mean like less than a couple of points. so more of a micro flush. We've had quite a lot of those recently. But yeah, there's definitely been a switch, and his newsletter does change over time. It used to be, probably about this time last year, the non-acceptance protocol didn't really exist, and the entry zone was sort of 2 to 7 points above the level. So he just, I think it just changes over the seasons, and as he gets feedback from subscribers on Twitter. Maybe he's getting a lot of people who are getting trapped, so he's sort of pushing, defer to the non-acceptance protocol, which for the most part is a safer way to enter. However, I do think there are times when you want to be a little bit careful doing it. Particularly like if we're trending to the downside and we're only getting 15, 20 point pops. If you're adding 5 points above the level for your entry, obviously that's really working against you. And then if we've had a very deep flush, and you're coming back 30 points from below the level, you're adding another 5 points on top of that. Those are some times to avoid. What are your thoughts on that, Mayank? Why it's transitioned very heavily in his newsletter to be either 50%, or didn't he say something to the effect the other day, like these are the majority of trades? Or?
Yeah. So it seems like so he introduced NAP back in August. So it's only been about a few months here. And initially, yeah, it was kind of just a rare thing of, hey, there's a danger zone, and when and originally it was kind of introduced as one of those things where, hey, when there's like low volatility, and you're just gonna get chopped around, kind of wait for that 5 point clearance, because then you'll know there's momentum. And the other thing, we would say as well is, if you kind of have those occasional times where volatility is extreme, so point back to last Friday, where we get that the failed breakdown, and you immediately are just kind of running, and there's just no time or no space for acceptance, then go ahead and use it. So yeah, it started off as something that was pretty rare, and then yeah, it went to 50% a couple of days ago, and then as recently as last week, he said now it's the majority of failed breakdowns should be taken with NAP. So, I it's interesting. I mean, Tim is right with the fact that, like, over the course of time, the newsletter has changed quite a bit in terms of like the fundamentals and concepts being the same, but some of his execution and approach to execution kind of changes over time. I mean, I used to remember back in the day where this was like 2021, 2022, where he would just say enter, anywhere between 2 to 7 points above, and just kind of have a wide range. And it seems like we're kind of going back to that now with kind of NAP. And it's not even that, like, because I think someone had initially pointed out, like, hey, I think this is more so just for newsletter subscribers who are confused. But I mean, if you really read his trade recaps, I mean, he's using it himself as well quite a bit. So it's not something that just seems that, like, he's just saying, but he's not actually acting on it himself. So yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think the biggest thing is, one, if you truly understand, it is most likely a safer approach. Secondly, I think just in this environment recently where we've been in, I mean, not a huge downtrend, obviously we're not that much off the highs, but obviously you guys have probably seen that, like, price has been acting a little bit faster, maybe honestly the past month or so. Like, we've just had a thinner tape most days. Price has just kind of been gliding up and down a little easily. So I think in those environments, it's easier to lose in that 5 point range, and that's probably why it just ends up being a bit safer, even if you have acceptance sometimes present, to just make sure that you're just giving everything you can ultimately to make sure the trade works. And I think, while sometimes it sounds counterintuitive to us in theory to be like, wait, you're telling me if I enter in higher, I have a better chance of the trade working out? Like, shouldn't it be the opposite, that, like, the lower to the low I enter, the more chance I have for price to give me a level to level move. So it sounds counterintuitive in nature, but if you really think about it, like all failed breakdowns, the initial struggle is in that kind of danger zone. Once it's able to kind of really get momentum and break out of there, then you kind of have to refer back to that standard deviation of 70% of failed breakdowns will go at least 30 plus points, another 15% will probably go 50 plus, 100 plus, and then yeah, you'll have your small variation that go 5 to 10. But for the majority of failed breakdowns, like, you will see enough of a move off of it that even if you enter 5 points above the danger zone, you could be okay. So yeah, I don't have a 100% clear answer. I mean, he hasn't been too distinct with why it's now the majority, but those would just be some of my guesses.
Yeah, thanks for that, Mike. All right, let's crack into the trade plan for today. So obviously we're flirting with the 76 level, which is this kind of breakout level that we had overnight. Levels below that, I mean, there's not much clear structure until the overnight low at 68.50, which obviously wasn't part of the trade plan, but that's formed in the evening. Kind of had an hour-long shelf there, so that's something I'll be watching personally. I'll probably, if we can hold 64 off the open and recover this 76, then that's something I would be interested in from someone who's not in a runner right now. So that would be something like that. I'm not really interested in engaging it right here 5 minutes before the open, because to me it's always a bit of a crapshoot on that 50-50 which way it can push off the open. So yeah, I'll be watching 68.49 beneath that. 64 was the level reclaim from the newsletter. The add-on strength, so there's a potential level reclaim, not something I'm interested in. And then beneath that, we're getting down into 68.22, which has been our a little bit of a demand zone the last few days, and obviously we put in multiple failed breakdowns of that level over the last couple of days. So it's interesting he put 22 in the newsletter. I would probably look to engage this midday low from yesterday at 25 as being kind of the precise structure around there, but engaging in that zone in general. So what are your thoughts from a trade plan perspective? You're in your runner, so is this kind of a sit back day for you?
Yeah, for now, sit back. First thing down I like would be engaging in this kind of low we had from last evening, around 68.49, 68.53, kind of that little bit of that shelf around there. That'd be the first thing I like. And then, he didn't mention this low as a singular kind of failed breakdown low. But to me, it seems pretty obvious, which is that 68.25 low. He mentioned more the 68.22 level as a level reclaim, but I do think the 68.22 in conjunction with that 68.25 like low would be a good failed breakdown. And then obviously, if we keep selling, then the 67.91 is the best thing on the table today.
Yeah, prior day's low down there. So yeah, there's 3 or 4 ideas there. Let's watch and see what the market gives us. About to open here in a couple of minutes. So with that, we'll end the stream. Catch you guys in the Discord. Thanks, everyone. Bye for now. All right, that's that.